So hello everybody, I am Krishna and I am the founder of MindTickle. So MindTickle is all about a gamification platform that we have created for enterprises. So all the Fortune 500 companies are using our platform and where they are using gamification for their learning. So I'll probably talk more about what kind of things there are happening in enterprises, what is the opportunity there. And I think a lot of things you have already spoken earlier about gamification. But I'll just quickly take my view of gamification and then jump onto the different things. Cool. So let's just try to. So this is like an interesting graph of, in Google Trends, you can see what is the keywords happening. So if you see from 2010 to 2012, this is a pretty rising graph. Any guess what is this keyword? What people are searching for? Yeah. So, right. So this is pretty interesting. This game thing has been forever, but it was coined in around middle of 2010, and since then, because it has been marketed well, right? So this has become like an industry term. This is growing, and you can see that the applications and the way it is growing. So it is now becoming very popular, and it has reached so-called a hype stage. Whether it will survive the hype or not, that time will tell. But most of us believe in this, so that is why we are here, right? Cool. So again, just summarizing, we have gone through this topic again and again today. Gamification is just using human emotions, using some of the, just trying to change a behavior, just trying to influence a particular behavior by using game mechanics or by human emotions. And a combination of all this is called gamification. And you described it nicely like motivational thing, right? So motivational behavior. So actually that summarizes well, and it can be a combination of a lot of things. So how does actually gamification work? So on one side you have game mechanics like points, levels, challenges, goods. Actually all of these map to human desire. So if you take any game or any behavior that you do, eventually it is related to a human behavior, human emotion. Why do humans feel good when they achieve something? That is why in the games you put points. Humans feel good when you do something good for others. There is feeling of altruism, which is so natural to humans. So that is why in some games you have gifting. A lot of the social games you have concept of Farmville did this, right? A lot of gifting. So why all this comes? Because they eventually map it to some human behavior. So finally gaming is all about using human emotions. If you get it right, then you get the whole thing going, right? So these are basically a very simple representation, and there can be much more emotions and much more game mechanics which map it to it. Actually, this is actually the key. So basically, from this philosophy of motivation, it is a very, very well-defined principle that whatever you do in life, whether it's a game, whether you are learning, whether you are interested in any activity, there is a challenge level and then there is a skill level. So initially, anything that you design, it has to be low at skill and the challenge has to be low so that a person gets motivated. Once a person gets comfortable with that, you can see a lot of games, right? The level designs they do, that they will try to make it that once you get comfortable, you feel good, then they will improve your level so that you can again get excited. They will not make it too difficult, because if it is too difficult, you will never achieve it. You cannot give somebody go to Mount Everest day one. You'll ask him to go to a small hill and then you say you've done a good job. So any game or gamification has to identify what is the right thing. A human state is called flow. So flow is a state or that when you are really excited about that particular thing. So if your gamification mechanics, whether it is engaging with your consumers, whether you are engaging with anybody, engaging with employees, if you are able to get them in a flow state, then these people will be engaged. And these people will be engaged for a long time. So idea is how to get that to that flow. That is very difficult, and that is all people, we all are trying to get people to that level. Okay, so why is gamification certainly, in the news, we all are talking about it? Because there are actually a lot of key people who are defining it. So how many of you have heard about Jen McGonigal? And how many of you, she has made a really bold statement, right? If you have watched her TED video, if some of you haven't watched, I will recommend you to see it. She's like, the next Nobel Prize will come to the game designer because they will change the world. It's a very bold statement, but yes, I mean, that is making us, that works. Then there is this another guy, very young chap from Scavenger, which again makes a very bold thing that Facebook was the decade where they made the social connections. Gaming is the thing that will make the next decade. So this 2020 will be all gaming. And then a lot of VCs are showing interest. The top VCs are saying that this is the biggest trend. So a lot of companies are, putting in money. And then the Gartner report says that in another couple of years, this will be a $3 billion market. So yeah, all this hype really helps. And there's a lot of news from, again, I am talking more from an industry perspective. So I just wanted to give you an industry perspective of how gamification is used. So a lot of companies, reports, money, everything is going. Salesforce, one of the most companies which is most active in the enterprise, they actually bought a gamification company called Ripple, which is all about gamifying performance appraisal. So, how do you give your appraisal to your team members? You call them once and take a review, which is not efficient. It is like giving likes or some, star rating from a manager to employee right then and there when you did something good. So it motivates people a lot. So that is how even the enterprises are changing. That instead of giving a one-time feedback to people, it is like a continuous channel. Anyway, so that was all about gamification. So let's talk about what opportunities is gamification creating, where all this whole thing is fitting in. So I've just tried to break into multiple areas so that you can figure out what areas are relevant to you or what is exciting. Let's start from the health and awareness. So jogging, just running is a very individual thing, right? So you run alone, and so what Nike did was an interesting thing, that Nike shoes and this iPhone thing, you have a chip by which you can, record that how much kilometers have you run. So what it does is, Nike has created a website where you can just, using that USB stick, you can say how much you have run, and then it will just match you up with somebody, or you can match it up with your partners. So running has become a gaming experience. So you run today 10 kilometers and your friend sitting in New York might be running 12 kilometers. So you have 2 more kilometers, to run next day. So this just becomes a game, like this is a small game, and it's really working out a lot. There's a company called Kias, which is like well funded, around $10 million. All that is doing is gamifying employees' health. So it goes and sells, the gamification platform for your employees to, have healthy habits. Because in turn, that reduces the insurance cost for companies. So like very interesting thing coming up, and there's a real ROI. Then social causes, again, like a lot of games are there, like there was this word without oil, a simulation exercise to figure out what will happen when there is no oil. So like people, what kind of things we'll do, how will we communicate, or energy things. Marketing, I think there are a lot of companies. In fact, today itself we saw a few companies talking about the marketing thing, right? And this company called Wildfire App, this was sold to Google for $450 million. Just 2-year-old company using simple gamification mechanics and just using it for marketing and loyalty. 2 years they are sold out for $450 million. Like pretty good thing happening. There are companies like Scavenger, Bunchball, Badgewall, a lot of people trying to address this space. Learning, so a lot of us know about Salman Khan Academy, which is creating all the learning experiences, and all the students are getting badges and all this for their learning experience. There's this game called Lumosity, which is doing brain training, and they are the highest sold app on the Facebook platform. And similarly, there are a lot of things happening in the social engagement and training space. I'll talk more about training space. Okay, now coming very specific to the area that we have been working. So this is the pitch. This is a slide that I have pulled out from my sales pitch. So this is the first thing we go and talk to companies. That what would your employees do? Really sit in the training seminar, or actually go and play the games? And fortunately, most of the companies agree that their employees will actually like to participate in games. And so, how is gamification relevant to learning? So as we all know that things have changed. We have got so many devices. Our attention spans are very low. So now the learners cannot be put into a traditional model. We have to use some of the things, and we have to engage them with social learning, games and those kind of things. And it's a proven fact that learners who engage with games retain most of their knowledge. It is much more efficient. So what we are trying to do at MindTickle is we have taken intersection of social, fun and learning. So we use a lot of game mechanics, we use a lot of social features, and finally we give an interface where you can put any kind of learning and it will convert it into an engaging experience. Mind it, we don't call it game, because as soon as you call it game, then people have a different perspective. You know, they try to get into the 3D animations, they will try to get into augmented reality and a lot of those things. So we try to stay away from it. So it's like just creating a simple learning experience. And we have been fairly successful. Like 4 of the top, Fortune 10 companies are using us. We have engaged more than 20,000 corporate users very actively in our learning thing. So, we have we started with some of the focus training frameworks we have done was new hire training, product training, sales training. I'm just showcasing this that, there is a real use case where companies, we are affecting the productivity of the company and we are changing their ROI, their bottom line and top line. And that is where, there's a huge scope for companies to work in gamification area and get money from the enterprises. So I'll just give you an example and use case. So we have one of the biggest problem today's workforce is almost every company will have 10 or 15 different offices, right? You will have one office in Singapore, one in Australia, one in New York, because now it's a flat word. How do you communicate with those people? How do you do a team building exercise? How do you engage with them? How do you know about each other's culture? So we created a framework which was all about ice breaking and some concepts of farm will your fuel will run over and then you will have to talk to somebody else and in the company and then only he can give you fuel. So it actually created a very good atmosphere, and here are some results. So we did it for a company, this SAP Labs, and they wanted to engage all the new hires that they had hired all over India. India is a pretty large country, so the idea was that engage these people and let them make friends and see whether they are excited to know about the company or not. And lot of people, around 50% said that okay, after participating in this exercise, we are more excited to join the company. We have made new friends. We have done, we are really interested. And see the amount of networking that happened. I mean, we gave these are the badges, the elite badge and the expert badge. If you see, the number of people in the top sections are much higher. Everybody, almost everybody, these are people who have never even seen each other. They have sent 50 plus invites to each other, connected with people. You don't even know them. You have just not even in the company. See the number of invites initiated, number of profile views, 70,000 views in 500 people. So the kind of engagement that gamification can bring is amazing. And all this is online. You don't need to get them into a hotel or do something. So this, pretty powerful usage of gamification. We have done similar things with a lot of other groups. So any group where people have more than 10,000 people, and how do you engage them? So for Vodafone, we did 10,000 people and 8,000 people were engaged for 20 days. And this is a huge thing for a company to get your 8,000 employees talking to each other for a period of 20 days. The companies will die for it. And that is what we were able to achieve. So this is an example of engagement. I'll go into some learning experience. So another thing that we do, for example, is a lot of time when you are joining a company, you are very anxious, or even companies want to tell you about what is the history, what is the vision, what is the mission. And it is right now done in a very boring way. I mean, you join the company, somebody will take you through a PPT and tell you. Instead of that, we create a very exciting experience where you can just see who all people have joined, what are the badges. You can learn about the company in a very simplified, gamified way. And some of the results that we did. And so we did a pilot with 300 senior most people. These people are 15 years plus experience, senior vice president and vice president, each handling at least $10 million of revenue. So these are the people who would never, we will think that they will never even participate in a gaming exercise, right? The results are pretty interesting. If you see, people were given badges you have to be either champion or, all this thing. If you see, the elite badges were more than 70%. So once people, with the gamification thing, the badges and medals, people get excited. I mean, people, if they participate, they want to be on the top league. You can see the feedback that people have given. That, it is very engaging, keeps your attention. So I'm just summarizing here that done multiple examples, and there's a huge power of gamification which can be used in enterprise, and there's a lot of opportunity to make revenue. So when we think of games, yesterday also there was a huge discussion going on, and the idea here is that just don't confuse games with gamification. Just use the right pieces in the right places, and you are going to get a lot of money. And that is where, and again, it's not gamification is like a solution to all the problems. You use it in the right way, you'll make a lot of money. It can be as simple as a small thing like what Farmville did was like just grow the crop, come after 10 hours. That simple concept work. What is it called is code loop, right? Something like the code loop. So yeah, just get the right thing and it will work. Don't need to be very technology savvy. It doesn't need to be like you need to reinvent the entire wheel. It can be medal, it can be badges, it can be a simple social connect. So just identify the problem, understand what is the business case, and just put your game mechanics together. Cool. Yeah, that's all I had to discuss.